With floor covering, we believe great floors start with great service. Whether you're looking for a plush carpet, durable LVP, timeless hardwood, stylish laminate, or beautiful tile, including custom tile showers, we'll help you find the perfect fit. No pressure, no pushy sales tactics, just honest guidance from a team that listens. DIY Weekend Warrior, we've got the products and advice to set you up for success. Iowa Floor Covering, floors you'll love from people you can trust.
And great people at that. Tyler, Brian, Ryan, the guys down at Iowa Floor Covering, proudly sponsoring our March Madness coverage, and they are sponsoring content year-round, round the clock here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Definitely give Iowa Floor Covering a call or visit them online at iowafloorcovering.com. I almost said IFC. That is their abbreviation, but check out their stuff over at iowafloorcovering.com. And if you missed that phone number, we'll give it to you one more time here. It's changed over the last year. 515-207-0228. 515-207-0228. Iowa Floor Covering in Bondurant. At this time, we're pleased to welcome former guest, and we're going to call him an honoree here. You are an honoree to us, Tim. You've been on this show a number of times, but you're not you're not Coach Close, you're not Gary Patterson, but Gary Patterson. What am I thinking? TCU football now? Don Patterson, Gary Close. Welcome, Tim Krueger, formerly of Stadium, still of Blue Jay Banter. Tim, welcome back. We appreciate having you here.
Thanks, Corey. I was going to ask you, you're covering TCU football now?
Yeah, no, I no, that's the and especially not TCU basketball. I have nothing against Jamie Dixon, but I will not be rooting especially hard for Brock Harding and the Horned Frogs this March. But it sounds like Iowa could end up meeting them, so it's going to be an interesting storyline. I'm guessing the committee has no horse in the race of reuniting the Hawks with Brock Harding, but that will be a storyline Iowa fans will follow. Tim, I know it's a busy time of year for you. It's a very busy week. And you, for people that don't know, give us a little bit of a synopsis as to what your November to March schedule is, because, of course, you also cover Iowa men's basketball for Blue Jay Banter.
Well, we cover Kraton men's basketball for Blue Jay Banter.
What did I say?
Iowa.
Did I say Iowa men's?
Now, hey, Corey, in your defense, here's the problem. I think the last time we talked, I called into your post-game show, and it was after Kraton, Iowa, a couple years ago.
Oh, that's right.
That's probably the last time we spoke. So there you go.
Well, we've talked a little bit over text, but yeah, we haven't reunited for the show. So
yes. So I'm with Brackettville now. Dave Ullman, one of the best in the business, does Brackettville and does a fantastic job. He does all the hefty lifting. All I do is do a bracket. I did help out with something we'll talk about later that's kind of a analytic thing. But at any rate, so we pump out about 2 brackets a week. Now we're doing this week. We've got one that hit yesterday. We got another one that's going to hit tomorrow. We got one Friday, Saturday, and then the final one Sunday. So we're rolling along. We have done a few podcasts. You can go to Brackettville on our YouTube channel and see those. We'll do a couple more this week. We've kind of tried to focus on different parts of the bracket because it just gets Dave and I can talk about, 4 teams for an hour. So it's kind of speed it up. But I don't have a lot of stuff to do with Kraton, so I don't get a lot of questions about that. So that's good this year. I hate to tell us, just between us and Iowa fans, I don't mind it when Kraton's not in the tournament because I get to watch the whole tournament. You know what I mean? If I go somewhere to cover, you miss probably that whole day's games, except for the couple that you're seeing live,
Right.
And it's kind of crazy, but anyway.
Yeah, no, I get it. I guess let's get the elephant on the Kraton side, elephant in the room addressed first. What went wrong this year? I mean, Josh Dix, Owen Freeman were absolutely huge portal additions. It felt like Greg McDermott kind of took the portal and ran with it. I mean, it wasn't it the top class if you're just looking at portal rankings?
I don't know if we were top, but
had to be close.
There's so many variables here. Okay. Number one, yeah. I'll just say it because I've heard it from every Iowa fan that I know, and there's a lot of them here in Omaha, and even fans I don't know on Twitter. The Owen Freeman thing really is, if you want to put it in a nutshell, that's it. I mean, they weren't expecting to be Ryan Kalkbrenner, but they were expecting a guy that's going to put up 16 points a game and, be able to defend a little bit. And he just never recovered from that knee injury, really. I mean, that's the official word. I don't know. I would say about a month ago, I saw him, I'd go to practice and man, he's, off one leg doing slam dunks and going, and then he gets in the game and he gets a rebound underneath the basket and he has about 2 inches of elevation. So I don't know what's going on. Now, I've been told, and I don't doubt this, because I know even Ryan Kalkbrenner, Greg McDermott was a big man, and he's hard on his big men. He really is. He was hard on Ryan Kalkbrenner until maybe middle of his junior year when he figured out, okay, I can trust Ryan. He knows what he's doing, and so I don't think Owen has been coached like that before. No, there's no disrespect to Fran, but just it's different style with the players.
Yeah,
with that position, really.
Well, and yeah, I think that's I've no doubt what you just said, and I don't think Owen Freeman, based on what I know, what I've heard, what you just said, I don't think Owen Freeman would have fit well into the Ben McCollum system. That's my personal opinion.
I don't think so either. Yeah,
and you probably know the Ben McCollum, his background as well as anybody. He was one of the guys, and I know there's stuff going on behind the scenes. He was one of the guys that Ben McCollum never really made a push for. mean, he pushed for Josh Dix. He pushed for Price Sanford. He pushed for Cooper Koch. He didn't push publicly for Brock Harding and Owen Freeman. And so there's certain fits for programs and there aren't. But to your point, man, the dude's dealt with injury after injury. Has there been other stuff? Because there were a couple of DNPs in there during the Big East season. People were like, okay, is he hurt or is he just not earning minutes?
He just, yeah. I mean, he would start to feel better and he'd get out there and just, I mean, inexplicable plays, really. And Mac just didn't have the patience for it. He's like, look, I'll go with 6'8" Jason Green in there. At least he knows the system. He knows what's going on, you know?
Interesting.
And he wasn't really giving us anything offensively. That was a big thing too.
Do you think he'll be back next year?
I would
doubt it.
I've heard once in a while, oh no, we'd want Owen back, but I really doubt it. That's the other thing too, is there's a lot of stuff going on. 1 second here. Sorry, I apologize. I got to get some power in here or we'll have problems. There's some problems with we've got a coach in waiting. And he's kind of like taken over, like in practice. He's really vocal and taking over a lot of the practices and even timeouts. Mac, he sat down. Al Huss is his name. He sat down and Mac just, and Mac chimes in. Don't get me wrong. Mac trusts him. Mac thinks he's a great mind, and he obviously was very successful at High Point. Kraton alum. This was his dream job. So that I think is a little bit of a dynamic, and I know Al wants to transform this roster into something different, and I think there might have been a little back and forth on that. We've got a couple of Iowa guys on our staff, and the second Freeman hit the portal, was like, oh my God, we got to get him, because we need a big guy. Sure. So without maybe doing a lot of due diligence, I don't know if that would have changed things. I don't know who foresaw him hurting his knee,
Right. And it sounds like Josh has been pretty good. I mean,
Josh. I can't say enough about Josh. He carried this team for a long stretch this year, and carrying them with everything going on in his life is just Coach McDermott. He and I private conversation just goes, he comes in every day like this, and he goes, I can't. I would not be able to do. I don't know anybody be able to do what he did this year.
Yeah, it really is amazing. I cannot relate to anything because I was never a collegiate athlete at all, let alone a high major collegiate athlete. But to do what he's done, you lose your mother in the middle of the season, and to keep playing. I mean,
and while you're on the road.
Yeah, I mean, it really was unbelievable. And
I mean, obviously, I had heard a couple weeks before that the end was very near, but they had a plane waiting for him, and he just goes, "No, my mom would have wanted me to stay, and I want to stay with my team."
Yeah, and that's admirable as well to be able to reason.
And then that really shook up the team for a couple of weeks because one of the guys on the team, Blake Harper, just lost his mom to cancer about a year or two ago, so that hit him hard. They were all very supportive and close with Josh. And it was just, there was a couple of games there. The Villanova game, I think the funeral was Friday and they played the game Saturday. They had nothing. They were emotionally spent. So there's a lot of that. And then some, we brought in some transfer, Blake Harper was the MEAC freshman and player of the year. He was highly recruited in the portal. Brought him in and, just doesn't have the defense to play in the Big East. So that was a problem. He just had trouble learning the system. Swartz, tremendous shooter, kind of dribble off the ball again. Guy not very good defensively. So, you're just every game he was trying to fit pieces and mix it up and just never could get, we have a great freshman in Hudson Greer. He got injured a couple times this year, so he couldn't get a steady flow going. And it was just one thing after another. Couple of Euros, one guy that, they speak English, but Karim Konan, I mean, he speaks English, but in the heat of the battle, when Mac's yelling from the side, he's probably like,
lingo.
Yeah. So it's just a lot of things, and they're a really young team too. So, frankly, for Mac to drag them to 5th place was pretty incredible, really.
Does Josh does he have any shot of getting to the league?
I don't think so.
Okay. Because I said when he was a sophomore at Iowa and he started to come on, I said, he's big enough, he's a good enough shooter, he's a good enough defender. If the right things fall into place, he could maybe become an NBA player. And that's what I just was curious.
Yeah,
he'll play somewhere.
Frankly, he got sportsmanship player of the year in the Big East, which was really cool. They honored him that way. He got really snubbed for defensive, first team all defense. I mean, he should have been. That was a joke, because he, for the most, I'd say 90% of the time, they put him on the other team's best scorer, and he did an outstanding
job. Why, just from your estimation, why is he not good enough for a late flyer in the second round? Is it he's not? If he's a good enough defender, he's a really good 3-point shooter. Why can't he be a 3-and-D guy in the league? Is he not tall enough in your mind?
I mean, he's 6'6". He's a big kid, really. I mean, he's.
What is it? What's missing?
I don't. I'm not an NBA guy, so I don't watch much. I'm amazed at guys that make it and guys that don't make it. Everybody told us Ron Kalkbrenner would never play in the NBA, and he's flourishing. Everybody told us Balin Sharman wouldn't play in the NBA. He's flourishing. Everybody told us Doug McDermott would be a star in the NBA. He never was a star. I just, you don't know. And so he's got the size. I would say his handle has to improve a lot, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And his shot, maybe, he's accurate, but I've always noticed his even his deep jumpers. Let's say he shot him from 25 plus, a few of them. His shot's a little bit flatter than the normal guard.
Yeah, sure.
And so those always seem to end up short.
Okay. Yeah, I can't imagine him playing point in the league, but
no.
Is there a spot for him at an off guard spot where he's got a little less pressure handling the ball on him? It'll just be it'll be interesting to see. And the trajectories that these guys take now. Do I play a little bit in the G League and see if I could stick around? Do I just go overseas and just commit to a career here? And he'll play somewhere, obviously. But
I wish we'd have had him for another year. That would have been the ideal situation.
Absolutely. I wish I would have had him for
to get another year in the system, and that he would have been, because he and that's the other thing too. We went from Stephen Ashworth, Ryan Kalkbrenner, who were real leaders, to all a bunch of quiet guys.
Yeah.
Like one assistant said to me, a lot of these guys we have, you would love for them to date your daughter, but they don't have that.
East basketball.
Yeah.
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 Well, Jim, we got you about till 6 o'clock. I mean, we're going to get right down to it. I know we got a couple of people who want to chat. The phone line's open if you do want to call in and ask Tim a question about any team. But I mean, we're keeping this. This is a limited amount of time we've got with Tim, and we want to be respectful of that. I basically want to skip right to the latest bracket that you have released via Bracketville.
Yeah.
So we can look at this. Obviously, Dave's got his up here as well. But for people that don't want to have to comb through this, we'll just skip right to the good stuff, right?
Sure,
You got Iowa playing in Tampa and facing off against Clemson, and a potential second-round meeting with a team in Florida that will have a lot of fans traveling down from Gainesville. So
that's the bad part about that, right?
Well, and I've seen the projections across. It seems like there's a lot of projections out there of Iowa playing in Greenville and facing Duke in the second round. So I don't know which one's better. I would probably matchup-wise, I'd rather play Florida if I'm Iowa than Duke.
Well, maybe Duke now that's with the injury. So they're a little bit, they don't really have a lot of bench to begin with. So,
but boy, they're still loaded with
talent.
Oh
yeah, they are. But when you lose your point guard, it's always a little bit scary. But
yeah, no, and I agree with that.
Now I will I'm sorry to interrupt, but just a caveat here. So I have, begun getting ready for the bracket tomorrow, and I kind of try at this time of year focus on different areas, and that middle is always. I think most bracketologists miss the middle. There's usually one or two teams we just totally miss.
Like middle, are you talking 7 through 10?
Yeah, basically. Probably you could add 6 in there because we spend a lot of time on the bubble, spend a lot of time at the top because that's what everybody wants to talk about. That middle sometimes gets overlooked. I have spent a lot of time in the middle. I think it's pretty much going to be close to this. I would say Villanova's, I've dropped them back to a 7. And Who'd I move up here? 7C. Let's see. I moved up. BYU.
Yeah.
BYU's back on the 6th line. Now watch,
Okay.
they'll lose later, but move Villanova to 7, and then just minor adjustments in that middle. I kind of went through because I just kind of look around and see what everyone else does, and if I have a little difference and so forth. And at one point today I had UCLA at 7, but that just didn't feel right. But I mean, the amazing thing with probably from 7, probably Villanova, you could start with them. Although you got Kentucky and other teams in there, it's a 7 line, so it's a little different, but maybe more the top of the 8 all the way through till 10-ish. Those teams are all pretty much the same when you look at their resumes.
Okay, so right now, let's say I'm going to give you a couple of hypotheticals, Tim, because that's what bracketology is all about, right? From the fans' perspective and a talking perspective. We want to give hypotheticals, and we want our hypotheticals answered. If Iowa goes and loses tomorrow to either Maryland or Oregon, I don't know where either one of those teams fall in the quad situation. My guess is those are both quad 2 losses. You might be able to tell me off the top of your head, but if I will lose on a neutral to one of those teams.
Yeah, it'd be quad 2. No, quad 3, actually, I think.
Is that quad 3 and a neutral?
Yeah, because I know Maryland's like 150-ish.
So that might really hurt. I guess that's my first hypothetical. Iowa loses their first game Wednesday. Is that enough to drop them all the way to an 11? Is there enough movement from everybody else below them in your mind that they could drop to an 11?
Yeah, well, first of all, I just happened to check before I jumped on. Oregon scored 12 points in the first half. So
that game's going right now, isn't it?
How that's even possible, I don't know. But anyway, because Dana Altman's always been a guy who plays great in tournaments. I mean, forget the record. And actually, Buzz has done a real good job with that, too, at every stop he's been. If we remember, A&M made that big run a few years ago.
Yeah.
Maryland, so,
right now, for people that are wondering.
Yeah, that would hurt. That would hurt. The bad news is that, like, the committee, I think, gets together tonight. I don't think they do a whole lot tonight, but then they're going to jump into tomorrow, and I would say they'll probably be at least 6 lines probably entered into the tournament, or probably 8 entered into the tournament, and then they'd start seeding, but they won't start seeding the rest of that part of the bracket till probably Thursday. So I would think they're going to get a fair shake looking at Iowa. Iowa's going to get a fair shake. So, yeah, I don't know. 11 would be tough because you're talking about the last 4 in there. You're probably talking about Miami of Ohio, win or lose here in their tournament, in that group. And then you're talking about maybe a Texas A&M, probably Texas. I would say
if Miami, Ohio wins the MAC tournament, you don't think they can get up? They can move up from 11? Because I've heard some people say that they think Miami, Ohio could end up on the 8-9 line if they go undefeated.
I would say yes, but I'm an old guy and I like to look at resumes, and I think that those days are getting less and less and less every year we go by, and it's more metric driven. If you look at their metrics, if you look at their resume, it's one of the worst resumes I've ever seen. They've played one game in quad 1 and 2. They won it. It was Akron. That's one game. Everything else is 3 and 4.
Do you believe they are a lock? You believe they should be a lock, or do you believe they are?
I don't see the committee leaving out now. Everybody's talking 31-0. We got to be fair here. They played 3 D2 schools, so they're actually 28-0 to the committee's eyes.
Against
the committee has never left out a team that's 28-1, 29-1, 30-1. So they never have. I think 3 losses. One year a team was 27-3 and had a horrific resume like that and didn't get in. The other thing, if you look at their metrics, on their resume metrics, KPI, SOR, which is strength of record, and on the WOB, which is their new toy, which they started last year, and they used it very heavily. They basically, people are saying that WOB and SOR they're using very heavily as far as placing teams in the field. They have excellent numbers there. So they're going to get in the field. On the other hand, their predictive metrics they've improved a lot over the last couple of weeks. They're in the 80s,
What are those
70s, and
metrics
80s.
you say are great? The WOB, and where are those metrics coming from? What does that stem from? Are they just very heavy win versus loss metrics?
So WOB is wins above the bubble. That's their new toy, and so it comes up. You come up with a number. Let's say the team with the best WOB in the country, whether that's Michigan or Duke, it's one of those two. They would have a 4.8 or whatever, and then it goes down from there till you get to the teams on the very bubble. They would be zeros, and then the teams just outside would be negatives. That's how it works. All the numbers behind it. I'm not a mathematical genius, so I know I have a Bracketology buddy who's got a master's in mathematics, and he even struggles understanding all the components. But that's basically what that is. SOR is strength of record. That's just your record. How did you do? Your schedule, basically. So
their strength of record is going to be very good because they beat everybody.
Right. Yeah, and it is very good. Yeah, they have a good number there. So that's what those are. When you go to the predictive side, obviously there's Ken Palm, which deals a lot in offensive, defensive efficiencies, all those sorts of things. Who'd you play? How did all that go? And I agree with 7-1, 701. Their resume is pathetic. It is. And they have the BPI, and then they also have Torvik, which is the newer of the metrics, but Torvik goes into a lot of things. So yeah. So anyway, I think the seeding could be, I think when discussions I've had with other bracketologists, they're saying, they probably should be, let's say they go undefeated. They probably should be a 9. We all know they're probably going to be a 10 or 11. It's just.
Okay. So you're telling me it would be hard to move Iowa, even if they were to lose tomorrow and get another quad 3 loss. You think it'd be difficult to get them all the way down to the 11 line. So is it fair to say if they I know that other things have to happen, but if they were to lose tomorrow and beat, their season's over, could they be – is it then that – I know you said there's a lot of possible movement between 7 and 10, but is it fair to say they probably end up as a 10 at that point?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay. No doubt.
I've been saying this for 2 weeks, Tim. It actually wouldn't hurt – if it didn't hurt them momentum-wise, it wouldn't hurt Iowa just to lose because you get off that dreaded 8-9 line and
I know.
Play a 2 in the second round.
That's the way. Even with these conference tournaments, you see teams that are like fighting to get to the 5 seed, and it's like, why? You got to play the 1.
Right.
So I think definitely a 10. I mean, there'd be it wouldn't be a comfortable few days. Let's face it. The stranger things would have happened, but I just don't see, like, I went just through the field real quickly today to kind of see, okay, who for sure right now is below Iowa. And I came up with everybody on the 10 line. So, and then you could have an argument whether you think St. Louis is worthy or not of the 9. So it could even be them too. So, I don't think you would see them drop more than 2 seed lines. I mean, at the end, you've got teams like VCU, a mid-major who's basically benefiting from everybody losing on the bubble. I mean, last week was incredible. I think there was 10 teams on the bubble. They all lost. Right now, like Indiana, I have Indiana in my field. I don't want Indiana in my field. Indiana does not deserve to be in the field, but there's no one to replace them.
I was going to ask you next about them because there were a couple of weeks ago, I made the comment that I think maybe Coach Closepin said the same thing, that Indiana was done. It looked like they were done. And your explanation for how they're not done, and now I'm seeing them projected in by most bracketologists that I looked at earlier today, is just the bubble is so weak and continues to get weaker.
Yeah, they have 2 wins. They have Indiana and Wisconsin. That's it. What's saving them was their metrics, okay? But their metrics have taken a real tumble here. Like their SOR is 46, WOB 47. So they're below water there on those. Ken Palm 41, T rank 29. That's pretty good. That would get you a seed. So, so somebody there explained it. The average bowl team would have lost 13 more games with Michigan's schedule than Michigan did this year. That's like a real
arbitrary.
Yeah, and very easy. It's not absolute, but it's not far off. There's more to it than that, but yeah, that's basically what it is. But I mean, how do you judge that? You know what I mean? Like,
hard.
But I understand them having a metric like this, but for them to be just, oh, this is it. This is the catch me out. It's like, okay. But at any rate, yeah. So Indiana, I think SMU is going to win today, so they'll probably move ahead of Indiana. So Indiana will be that team. If there's a bid stealer, they'd be that team that would be bumped out, which could happen in some conferences. Big East for sure. A10 could happen.
And Ohio State's safe.
Ohio State's really safe. Ohio State's got great computer numbers. The computer loves
risk, unless somehow Maryland, or if Maryland were to, assuming they beat Oregon, they're leading. If they were to knock off Oregon, knock off Iowa, then Ohio State, right? They're in that part of the draw.
I think so.
So if they were to lose, if they had a quad 3 loss, could that put them in danger of being?
It didn't. Here's the funny thing is the difference between them and Indiana's schedule. They've beaten the same two teams, Purdue and Wisconsin, but they also have wins against UCLA and Indiana, and Indiana convincingly. So that's what's really helping them out. Have a pretty good win against West Virginia, who's not in the field, but definitely is on the bubble, on the wrong side of the bubble. But so Ohio State has some better wins. Plus, like I said, the numbers love them. Like their KenPom's 26, their Torvik is 23. So that's 6-7 seed. So
a couple weeks ago, Tim, I made the comment after Iowa beat Ohio State, I said they're in. And the reason I said that is because you look at the schedule, you had to play Michigan at home, you played Nebraska on the road, you played Penn State on the road, but there were bracketologists out there, and I know not all bracketologists are created equal.
No, they're not.
A lot of guys that have joined the industry, Tim, and it's hard to kind of tell, where they fall. But I saw, I think Iowa at one point was as high as a 6 at that point. And then there were people like Mike DeCourcy and others that had them down at hovering around 9 still. Well, then they go lose at Penn State and, of course, rattle off 2 more losses, but look pretty good in those losses to Michigan and Nebraska. When did Iowa become a virtual lock in your mind? Was it with everybody else losing, or was it after that Ohio State win at home?
Iowa, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, they're in the metrics have taken a little hit, but their net has not. And that's still, despite what the committee may or may not say, that's kind of net is still kind of a little bit of a deciding factor in a lot of people's minds on that committee. And they're at 25 right now, which is outstanding. And they really haven't moved much, even, with the Nebraska loss, they didn't move at all, of course. But so that's really helping them too. I would say they've been a lock for a while because they've actually dropped in most people's brackets lately rather than gone up. So, I was just talking.
I kept saying that, Tim. I'm like, if they lose to Penn State, okay, maybe you drop a seed line. You're going to maybe drop a seed line in total for losing to Michigan and Nebraska, and I don't even think you do that. And then one more bad loss. I mean, if you're being projected I think most people had them around 7 when they beat Ohio State. With only one bad loss, potential loss still on the schedule. How do you go from 7 to on the wrong side of the bubble? I didn't understand.
Yeah. And the thing is that, like I said, that very last spot on 7, all the 8s, all the 9s, some of the first to 10s, they're all the same. I mean, they really are. So it's, intelligent people could look at Iowa and say they're an 8 seed. Some could say they're a 9. Some might put them the first in the 10. I think Lenardi had them first in the 10 today. So they're in there. I just don't see them falling to, like, for instance, let's just pick a team who wasn't in the play-in game until probably last night when Santa Clara beat St. Mary's. I think that pushed Santa Clara out of the play-in game. So Texas would be the first, the best team in that play-in game, and they're 17-13. Have a good resume, but they're 17-13. They don't, that'd be a 3-gap lead for Iowa, and the record forget about everything else.
Right.
Strength of schedule is pretty close. I mean, Iowa didn't have a very good non-conference, but at this point, that isn't as big a factor. And the other thing is these committees the last 3-4 years have not made that a very big factor, i.e. Iowa State for years has played under TJ horrible non-conference schedules. And he just like, I don't care. We'll make it up in the conference.
And is it also like Ben McCollum has talked about this? I've asked him the question about analytics. He's an analytical guy. He studies stuff like the net. There's a notion out there that certain coaches manipulate the net. And I think in some regards, Ben has probably done that. I would call it more so just taking advantage of, a loop in the system or understanding the system better than other people. So the non-conference, be that as it may, if it's weak, Grand Canyon and a bad, very mediocre Utah team. And, Xavier, I think has been, Xavier better than I think they ended up being better than people thought they would be, right? Is that fair to say?
They did, but then they've got some injury. Now they fell all the way to 10th.
So you're right.
Yeah.
Iowa lost at Iowa State. It was an opportunity, played well, but lost at Iowa State. But it didn't hurt their net. The way they scheduled and the way they won those games and lost some games seemed to only help them.
Reason why is different. Like if you beat the brakes off people, you get a boost because there's not a cap. There's a cap in one system, but not in the other system, so to speak. Or there's varying caps. I don't know how it all works, but it's something like that. I know if you just beat the brakes off everybody,
it's going to help you.
It's going to kind of help you, not immeasurably, but it is going to help you a little. And I think that helped Iowa, no question. And the other thing is, if you're playing Michigan and you lose a 1-point game and you should have lost by 10, I think in the WAB or the SOR, I think that helps you. And I think it helps you somewhat with Ken Palm as well. So things like that. Yeah. I don't particularly like that. I think a loss is a loss is a loss, Right.
Just so people are aware, Maryland's going to beat Oregon. They're up 22 now with under 10 minutes to go. So we'll follow that. We got a couple of people who want to chat with Tim. We got about 20 minutes left here. We got Drill MVP on the line. Drill MVP, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Corey. Thank you, Tim, for once again giving us your time. Greatly appreciated, as always. Anyone other than Duke and Michigan, can they be the number 1 overall team in the country?
No, it's pretty much locked. In fact, I wonder. I'm glad you brought that up because I wonder with Duke having that injury, and again, there's no. The committee doesn't have a portfolio of games like they do with Texas Tech to see how they did without their best player. He's not their best player, but he's a very important player for him. So you wonder if Michigan runs a table in convincing fashion and wins the Big Ten and Duke goes out in the semifinal. You wonder if those two will flip. I highly doubt it, but it's very close between the two. But there's a gap. There's a gap between Michigan and Arizona, no doubt.
I got you. And any chance UConn, I know they lost to Marquette, any way they can get back on the one line, or do they need Florida to take a loss in the SEC tournament?
Yeah, that would be the only possible way I could see it happening if UConn, and UConn's actually benefiting a little bit because they're getting to play Villanova, who's, a team that's going to the tourney, and then obviously most likely St. John's. If they won both of those and then Florida loses fairly early, so they don't have a chance to rack up some wins like you get in that SEC. There could be a possibility, but that Marquette loss was that really hurt UConn.
Yeah, that was a very bad loss, especially for a team that highly regarded. Shocking loss, to be honest with you. The Auburn Tigers are 16-15, and some people have them in. I mean, that's just a statement I never thought was true.
Well, they got Bruce Pearl advocating for him. So,
shout out to nepotism, by the way. As soon as I saw him say, "Yes, he was hired because of my son," I immediately thought of Brian Ferentz, Corey, because of you.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I'll take all the credit for that one, Drill.
No problem. Is there any if they win 1 or 2 games in the SEC tournament, based on how weak the bubble is and the bubble team's likely losing? Are they just going to be like Indiana, what you said earlier? It's like, well, I don't think they should be in, but who's going to be in above them?
Yeah. if the record wasn't 16-15, they'd be in. They've had enough quality wins. They've got, I think, the number 3 schedule in the country. But I'm a historical guy, and I'm always at this time of year going, okay, what's the most losses a team has taken to get in? Now, teams have gotten in with, I think, we're talking ancient history. Louisville got in one time at 16-14, or USC 17-14 or something, but they played a monster schedule. Nobody's gotten in at 500. Nobody's gotten in with 15 losses that didn't have. I think Vanderbilt was 19-15, but they had the number 2 schedule in the country and had a ton. I think they had something like 12 quad 1 wins or something like that. I don't remember the exact number, but they had an overwhelming resume. So it wasn't crazy that they got in. They've got to win too. They've got to at least be 18-16, and even then, I'm not sure they'd have the stomach. I think the committee would really take a beating for putting in an 18-16 team.
Yeah, there's a lot of people out there that want teams like Belmont, George Mason, McNeese, who have these great records. But because they're not going to win their conference tournament or have already lost it, they've got no shot because of their resume. Do you think expanding the tournament to 76, which has been proposed again, would be the solution to this problem?
0. Because you know who's going to get in?
Auburn?
West Virginia, Virginia Tech, Auburn, Stanford, Oklahoma. Those are the teams that are going to get in. They're going to look at them and go, well, Oklahoma's, 17-14, but man, they've got 4 Q1A wins, and it's just a losing battle. I don't know if it's possible nowadays, but I think for some of these teams and programs, they need to take the Gonzaga approach way back when Gonzaga just went out and played everybody.
Yeah. I was just about to say.
And they went on the road, and eventually started performing in the tournament, and eventually they started to get either neutrals or home games in return. And then that just started to snowball.
And that's more of a program thing than maybe a season by season thing. But
right.
Like in general, yeah, to your point, Tim, like I was just thinking the same thing, because if you're a McNeese or you're a Samford or a Colgate, it may be hard. I don't know, the ins and outs of how that scheduling process will go down for a program like that. But you either commit to that or you don't. And if you don't, then that's an admittance that, okay, we're just going to have to win our conference tournament. And we reserve no right to complain. Like if Miami, Ohio is just an anomaly, right? Nobody goes 31-0.
Right.
But if you're 29-2, right? If you're 29-2 and then you bow out in the conference tournament to an Akron or to an Eastern Michigan, then guess what? We accept that because we chose to play Hostess and Little Debbie in the non-conference. I mean, I think that's what you have to. Those mid-major schools, I think what you just said, you just have to accept that, and you have a choice as to who you want to schedule in the non-conference, and that dictates viability in March.
I think to your point too is that that used to be the case with power teams. I mean, I remember our friend, and I say that loosely, Seth Greenberg over at ESPN, when he was coaching Virginia Tech, they were 24-9. They'd beaten Duke. They played nobody in the non-conference. Absolutely nobody. The committee said, no, you're not in. Get the hint. Next year, he played the same schedule. Didn't get in again. And St. Mary's was the problem. I know this for a fact because I've talked to Joe Lenardi about it. He has some, in with the West Coast Conference. And eventually he talked to Randy Bennett at St. Mary's and said, hey, you've got to start playing somebody. And so Randy started scheduling these neutral site games. And hey, guess what? They haven't missed it for a while now. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's just heartbreaking because I saw the Miami of Ohio head coach said he went out there and tried like 75 different schools, and they all turned him down because it's like, what do we get out of it? Your big-time schools aren't getting it.
I don't believe that.
I don't believe it for a second.
Oh?
I don't believe that at all. I think he's playing people prove him wrong. I just, that seems absurd.
I would believe it somewhat if it wasn't Travis Steele. I mean, I don't think he really played all that. He was kind of built into some games at Xavier. I mean, he's got plenty of connections to be able to play. Maybe somebody in state like Cincinnati, he's not going to play him, but he could play Murray State or, Belmont. We just talked about that. You could play somebody.
Well, I'm just curious. I mean, again, you know about this more than I do, Tim. Why wouldn't Ohio State play Miami, Ohio in the non-conference? Ohio State plays Merrimack and South Florida and Florida Gulf Coast and Incarnate Word. I mean, why would 50 or 60 programs turn down a MAC school that has no history of being a juggernaut?
Well, let's start right here. Iowa doesn't play Drake.
Yes, Iowa doesn't play Drake.
They don't play Northern Iowa, do they?
But Drake and Northern Iowa are perennial contenders in their league. Miami, Ohio is not a perennial contender in the MAC.
No, you're right. You're right.
If Drake and you and I weren't consistently good over the last 20 years, Iowa and Iowa State would still be playing them every year.
Let me give you a situation closer to me. Kraton won't play Omaha. It used to be UNO. Now they call
Why
it
is that?
Just why? There's no upside for Kraton. Zero.
Well, you play
so you play them. You play them. We're not going to go to their arena for crying out loud. You're going to have to play at CHI.
Oh, agree.
They come in and beat us. They made the tournament last year. What if they come in and beat us?
But
now,
if you're Miami,
that's a no-win situation.
But Miami, I'm not. But what I'm advocating for, Tim, is not for Miami, Ohio, to try to get teams to come there. But they ought to have been willing. If he's implying that he's,
but I'm saying Omaha would play at Kraton's arena. And, Duke never plays North Carolina Central. Right, they're about 2 miles away. They just won't play them.
Yeah, Kentucky played UNC Wilmington a few years ago, and we lost to UNC Wilmington.
I'm just simply saying, Darrell, Iowa and all these major programs, they're playing nobody teams.
Yeah, generally that's true, but there's this tier of elite.
Miami is not on that tier, though. That's what.
No, but your Belmonts, your McNeeses, those type of teams can't get anybody to schedule. VCU.
We're talking about Travis Steele's team, and his team had no history. That's why I'm calling bull crap on that. I don't believe that he went out in 50 to 6. Unless
he doesn't need to play Duke. Like I said, he could have played Belmont.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that would have been a good. What's Belmont like? 40. they're like 40 something in the net.
Santa Clara play.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Play anybody.
Yeah,
you could play a few D2 teams, and you
might have to go on the road, but
a lock.
What's the difference? There's tons of A10 teams you could play. Right. There's 1,000 choices you could have made.
Yeah, Darrell, I got to let you go, but always good stuff.
Can I ask one final question for a small school? Mercyhurst getting screwed over by transition rules. Justice for Mercyhurst. Please get rid of the transition rules, Tim. Thank you.
Where does that come from, the transition rules, and why does that?
I don't know.
That just
crazy. Who was it that just went? Somebody that's moving next year went and argued against and got relief. Like they only have to sit out 1 year or something. I forget. But kind of in that vein. So Utah Valley, I don't know if you saw this. Utah Valley, it won the WAC. They're the number 1 seed. Their commissioner comes out today with a statement early this afternoon. They owe $1 million for moving to that conference. They haven't paid the $1 million. And he said if they don't pay it by 5 p.m. Mountain Time, they're out. They're out of the tournament.
Okay. Okay. Well, they should be able to come up with $1 million. I would think a major university would be able to find. Yeah, they owe $1 million.
Utah Valley's probably pretty small, but I would think, yeah.
Well,
I'm sure what it was. I'm sure what they did. They're number 1 seed, right? So they're probably pushing this off, thinking, well, if we make the tournament, we're going to get X amount, then we'll pay. We'll pay them out of that, whatever. I don't know. I don't know the situation, but obviously they've had plenty of chances to pay it and have it, or this would never have come up. But I thought all of a sudden it's like, whoa, really?
All right, we got Tim Krueger here for the final part of our show, and Arnold here in the chat says it looks like a hot shooting Maryland team for Iowa tomorrow. I don't recall previous Iowa team shooting well in the Cavernous. He spelled this Cavernous. What does that even mean? I don't use words like cavernous. Wow.
Cavernous, like
cavernous.
It comes from cave, like a big.
Yeah, I understand the nature of the word. I don't know that I've ever seen that word before. At least
let's give them credit for using it. Hey,
That's great. Yeah. We'll have to get Arnold onto the show sometime. He's going to expand our vocabulary. Iowa doesn't typically shoot well in Gamebridge or in the United Center. So it will be interesting. And they struggle with quick guards, Tim. David Coit, Andre Mills. Man, Andre Mills, he was a handful for them. Not just out there, but at Iowa as well, especially out there. So we'll see. But that's going to be...
I would think the thing about Maryland is they've struggled. Buzz's teams have always been really good defensively, and this team is too. They've kind of struggled on the offensive end. So
yes,
I would think Iowa, the way they've been able to control pace this year has been really, really, really good. And I think they'll be able to do that with Maryland.
Maryland has made 9 of their 33-point attempts, and they've shot 41.5% from the field in this game. So I don't know. Hot shooting might be a bit hyperbolic. There's a vocab word for you, but I mean, it's definitely a difficult matchup. Iowa proved that earlier this season. Let's go to our next caller. We got Tony. Tony, you've been waiting for a while.
Oh, my God. It's Tony.
Tony, I think Tim knows who you are because
there he is right there. See, I knew he was going to do it.
You pull up every cat, every bracket, Tim's bracketology there, no matter what.
I was glad you brought up the Utah Valley State thing. Now, I want to ask a follow-up to that. If they get left out of the WAC tournament, is there a chance the committee throws them a bone?
No, 0.
Okay. I just wonder,
Yeah.
Why would the committee what's Utah Valley's record?
They're like 24-7 and they won the WAC regular season.
Why would they throw them a bone?
Because they didn't have a chance to play in their postseason tournaments with the conference.
That's their problem. We're not
not
giving a bid stealer to a poverty team that can't afford to move up into Division One.
No, they're in Division One. They're moving from the WAC to the Big West, I think. Is that right, Tim? Is it the Big West?
Those teams out there move around so often.
Yeah.
I always have to look at their entire roster to figure out who the heck is where. They're all moving around. Wait till next year when the Pac-12 comes back, and then gee.
By the way, Rick wants to know, does a team's overall health have a bearing on the committee? Will that affect seeding?
It does to a certain extent, but like right now, like Texas Tech has had enough of a portfolio of games that's not going to bother them. BYU's had enough portfolio of games, so it's not going to worry about Saunders, and they've won. We don't have anything with Duke. We've got a little bit with North Carolina, but I don't know. So it does, but not to the extent people think. The only one, and people always go back to the one many years ago when UMass should have been a number 1 seed, but they got a huge injury and they dropped into 2. But that was an unusual situation.
What about the Kenyon Martin one too? Wasn't that?
Yeah, that was it. It. Yep.
Yeah. Did you go over? I saw you scrolling. My internet went in and out, and I was so mad they were working on it, but it's solid now. Did you go over his seed list, Corey, to show where they had Iowa? Was that when I was off?
Let's see. Seed list. Your seed list here. Oh,
go up. There you go.
Yeah.
Just the overall.
Yeah, because that kind of shows where Iowa falls in the. You have them on the 9 line, right, Tim?
Yeah, I went pretty thoroughly through that section from, say, Clemson on down to Central Florida, and they're pretty much going to fall. Now, I could see Utah State going behind Iowa State. I could see
TC.
I dropped St. Mary's way down because
Yeah.
their metrics took a tumble. So they're down in that range now, too. TCU's got too many good wins.
If Santa
UCLA,
Clara,
same way.
if Santa Clara wins today, if they win tonight, can they move ahead of Iowa?
You know what? That would be a real possibility. It would just depend on how the computer numbers would look. But if they could, because that'd give them 3, as long as St. Mary's stays in quad 1, that would give them 3 quad 1 wins, 3 top 25 wins.
Yeah, they're hot at the right time. Does the committee look at that as well?
Absolutely. No, they used to. But then they did a study on it, and there was absolutely no correlation with how a team finished the season and how they did in the NCAA tournament. So they totally got rid of it.
And you have the stars, for some don't know, that's your auto qualifiers.
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, if Utah State doesn't win, there's one bid. If Miami,
New Mexico or San Diego State could, yes, absolutely. Now, would Utah State stay in? I would think so. they could be in the playing game. But yeah, see, that's what I'm talking about. The bid stealers, that the A10, 2 leagues where we could, and maybe the MAC too. So we could, we're Dave and I over Brackville, we were actually talking about that the other day. We were like, the situation with the bubble right now, it would be better if we did have bid stealers to get teams like Indiana out of there. I think VCU is pretty solid. I think SMU kind of solidified their spot with a convincing win today. But yeah,
I have a question. So there's 3 SEC teams in order there: Missouri, A&M, and Texas. Is there enough? I mean, obviously the league is big, so there's opportunity in that conference tournament to get wins, but like they're not all going to move ahead of Iowa, right? Like there's only so much success all 3 of those teams can have at the same time.
Actually, tomorrow I'll have Texas in the play-in game.
Okay.
Took another look. They're 17-13, so they're getting. I'm thinking what I was thinking there was, well, if they lose the first game, they're gonna be 17-14. That's real danger zone, And Missouri, what's holding them back really is the net number is kind of scaring some people. They're at 60 in the net, but you look at their resume, it's pretty solid. They've had 3 high quality wins, and then they've added in a couple other, middling SEC teams too. So yeah, I wouldn't, Missouri's probably going to move up a little bit. North Carolina State's another team. They can't mess around. Their resume is not the greatest. And that's kind of hurting Iowa because that was a good win at one point, and now it's slowly dropping. I don't know. I'm sorry. Did Iowa play North?
No.
Who am I thinking of? I'm thinking of another team that's kind of on the bubble that had a win over North Carolina State. I'm sorry. The teams are all running together at this point in my life.
Oh, I can't imagine why. I can't imagine why.
Hey, did you go over his, and this might have been when I was gone, did you go over the BV rankings and the math?
Yeah, I was going to talk about that. Thank you.
Yeah.
See, Tony always comes through for me.
Yeah, he does.
So this year we started a thing called the BV rankings. What we did was we went back last year because it was a fairly new committee. There was a lot of new members, and most of those members are back on the committee this year. And we went and looked, and there were some real outliers. So we said, well, what were they really looking at here? So we Forbes did a story on it, and we took that and went, 10 times it and really dug into it further. And we saw that there was just a very few outliers. If you took the WAB, the SOR, and the net and combined those, you maybe would have 4 to 5 outliers, but otherwise it was pretty close to going up and down the bracket. So we've used that all season long. And I believe, I don't know, can you switch on the website if you go up to the top?
Yeah.
Or do you have or is that a slide?
No, I got where's the right here?
Okay, go to the top. There you go. BV rankings. There you go.
Okay.
And there you go. So that's a point value. So Michigan right now is actually ahead of Duke. Duke was ahead for a good chunk of the year. Now they've slipped on one of those. So that's kind of, this is an absolute. You see a Virginia team kind of is an anomaly there. If you scroll down a little bit, Iowa State's another bit of an anomaly. Vanderbilt's kind of, I would not be shocked. I have been a 5 and have had been a 5 almost all year. I would not be shocked if Vanderbilt got a 4 from the committee because their numbers are really good. But if you go down further, I think Iowa comes in right there at 38. So right in the middle of the 10 seeds. And you can kind of see, I talked about some of the teams. North Carolina, I don't think will be ahead of them. But all those other teams are probably going to they're all very close. We talked about Clemson, Ohio State, TCU, all those teams are all right there. Central Florida has a really good resume. Who they beat, but man, their computer numbers are not very good. VCU, A&M, we've talked about all those teams. So there you go. And that shows kind of Auburn's strength there at 44. Like computer wise, they're good. It's just at some point you have to win games, I mean, and I and people kind of, always get me for saying that, but I mean, isn't that the whole point? Like, we kind of forget about that sometimes. We're so wrapped up in all these computer numbers and who you beat and what the quads are. And, you know, after a while, you got to say, hey, they rolled it out there this many times and they won this many times, and especially when you're talking about the major conferences.
That's what I was going to ask you, too, about Iowa, Tim. I said prior to the season, in general, if you get to 10 wins in the Big Ten, you're in. Now, that's not always been the case, right? That's not an absolute. Wasn't there a 500 team that missed?
Oh yeah, there's been teams under 500 got in conference. That was a big discussion a few years back. Now these conferences have got so big that you can't, you know.
Well, what I'm saying, no, I'm not saying that teams under 500. I'm not saying teams at 500 would. Okay, let me rephrase what I'm.
I think there's been you were trying to say that there's been teams over 500 who haven't made it too in conference play.
Are there teams from
the Big Ten?
The Big Ten that were over 500 in conference play that have not made it.
Yeah,
I know one a couple of years ago. 60 miles west of me.
Lincoln.
They were like 11-5 or something.
Yeah, they were really. I thought it was like 12 and.
Yeah, they might have been 12.
Yeah.
What about now with the expanded leagues and how strong the SEC and the Big Ten are?
This was a few years ago with Nebraska, Corey.
Yeah, it wasn't 18, but I think the league was like 14 teams at that point. Yeah. No, it has no. They don't look at conference records. Number one, I know you know that, but they don't look at conference records.
But normally that's an indicator that some of your metrics are going to be.
I mean, the problem with that is that the conference schedules are so imbalanced. You know, like look at what the ACC does. Clemson and Duke did not play this year. That's crazy. I mean, think about it. That's just nuts.
Like at least in the Big Ten, everyone plays each other. Like you said, some of these conferences, there's some that don't even play each other once.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy.
How much can Iowa move up, Tim, if they go on a run in the Big Ten tournament? I know you've told me in the past a lot of this stuff is almost in place before you hit Sunday. But if Iowa,
it is. It's all done before Saturday.
If they made a run to Saturday or Sunday, could they get to a 6? Is that way too much movement? Could they get to a 7? Is there a better chance of being in the 7-10 game by losing or by winning? Probably by losing, right?
Probably by losing, yeah.
So
winning one and then losing the next one.
How much?
And then somebody else from behind takes that little run. And then you got to remember this, like we talked about bid stealers, everybody else will kind of shuffle up too. So
how much would they need to win to get to a 7? Would they need to get to Sunday?
Oh boy. So
here's the reason he's asking, Tim, is he asked me this. And Tim, this is the scenario I said. If they win tomorrow, if they beat Ohio State, who they're in direct competition with on Thursday morning, and they play very competitively against Michigan on Friday, I could see a possibility of a 7.
I don't think that's enough.
Yeah, I don't think that's enough. Beat Michigan, then
if they beat Michigan on Friday, so if they win 3,
they get to Saturday.
Yeah, and we're talking kind of about in this subject here, so I want to mention this. I don't know if you guys saw this, but they had another mock selection committee this year for the first time in several years. Okay, so I think it was brought up several times by some of those major sports writers and TV personalities. Oh, you guys don't ever count the conference tournaments, And they bristled at that. Oh, yes, we do. And then somebody else put out a big thing about it, and Dave Warlock at the NCAA got upset, back and forth. So I'm wondering if maybe they'll add a little emphasis. But to their point, it's one game.
Let the pendulum swing in the other direction.
Out of 30. Right. You know,
right, but it could potentially be if we're talking 3 wins here, one that doesn't mean anything, a quad 3 victory, but then 2 quad 1 wins against Ohio State and Michigan.
Yeah, but again, it's 1 or 2 games versus the 1 or 2 you played in November. You know, and I always say I look at it both ways. Like that's what the committee will always say. Well, it counts 1 game and it's just as important as the game in November. And I say, yeah, but it's just as important, not less important.
Tony, you got anything to finish? I got to get out of here, but anything to finish this thing off? I know you've been excited.
Oh, I could go on for hours.
By the way, Kyle, our guy Kyle, still wants to get together with you, Tony, at some point and get a stream up. So
yeah, probably next Wednesday would be good, because I would assume it's probably very, very low that I would be playing in that play-in game, right, Tim?
Yeah, I can't see it. I can't see it. Again, we would have to have so many bid stealers and things that you would knock out the entire last four now. So then the 10 seeds would be last four. That would be possible, but I can't see a scenario where all four get knocked out.
Yeah, because I see maybe 3 bid stealers max.
Yeah.
Unless something
could be close if that happens.
Yeah. I mean, because you're talking the MAC, the Mountain West, and I forgot who the
A10 probably.
A10, yeah.
But hey, don't forget Seton Hall could go on a run in the Big
Yeah.
East.
Yeah. Or who was Pitt? Pitt could go on a run in the ACC. I mean, they won today.
Now that would be shocking.
Yeah, it would be, but I'm just saying, like, like something like it would have to be a team like that. So,
hey, maybe Maryland goes on a run and wins the Big Ten.
No.
Well,
that game only ended up as a 10-point margin.
I know Oregon didn't come back, so the final score there actually
70-60.
Did it go final?
Yeah, 76. It just went final, 70-60.
70-60. So there you go, folks. I will play Maryland tomorrow.
Okay, could I get one quick one in because of this result?
Yeah.
When are they starting to look at the team sheets for seeding? Like, let's just say hypothetically, this result of Maryland bumped them out of quad 3 for Iowa.
Okay.
So Iowa has a road loss right now with Maryland. That's a 151. If they get to 135.
Yeah, that would, good point. Good point. I think the average fan and even fans who follow it every single night are a little fuzzy on this. The committee doesn't get it that fine. You know, if they're at 150 and they move to 110, they're like, okay. You know what I mean? Like they're not really going to get too excited about it. But this is a good point. So they'll look at them every morning. So like tonight they get together. I don't think they do a conference reports, all that kind of stuff. Tomorrow they'll start. They have a list they turn in if so many teams get up to 24 teams. So they'll put like 20 teams in right off the get. And then they start adding teams, and they'll get probably to an 8 seed, and then they'll turn around and start seeding the top couple of lines. Usually they get through a couple of lines on Wednesday night, and then they'll turn around, maybe do a little bit of seeding Thursday morning, and again get back to adding more teams to the field. By Friday noonish, they're going to have their field set. Now,
no, I know. That's why we're talking about, well, does Iowa win Thursday, Friday?
Right. That's why.
How much does the Friday win even impact them?
But then what they do is they go through and probably do 3 full scrubs of the whole thing. So Saturday morning, they'll get up and go, geez, Iowa won again. Okay, well, let's just take a look at them again, their new resume, and see how that looks.
Okay.
And how does it compare to the old resume? And is there a noticeable enough movement for them to take over that next team who maybe lost last night? You know, they'll do that.
And then on Sunday, they have a provisional bracket.
Yes.
Is that fair for a couple?
Well, they'll do another scrub Sunday morning, and then they'll do another one Saturday night. They'll probably do a minor one Sunday morning again if anything changed. And then, they'll put together a bracket. Then they've got to have an extra bracket because the most idiotic thing in college basketball is having that late game be an A10 game or
Big Ten.
All American Conference game. Big Ten is not bad because there's so many teams in. But why don't you have the Big Ten and the SEC have the late games? So
I'd be fine
more
with
likely than not, 2 teams are playing who are already in the field.
Let's just not have conference championship games on Sunday. I'd be fine with that.
Well, right. Yeah. or an early window. Because for us, bracketologists, we've got like a half hour to change what we did and get it resent in and put out. And it's a real hassle. And it's got to be that way for the committee, too. And I think that's why sometimes the committee makes a little bit of rush because even with those provisional brackets, little tweaks can change. That win could have changed somebody else's resume,
Right.
I want to add on to Corey's thing. Let's just have all conference championships be Saturday, and we wake up at noon Sunday and get a bracket. Then we have all day to dissect it.
I'd be fine with that. I don't need. But see, Tim's a traditionalist. He wants some conference championship games on Sunday. I can tell. But,
Tony, I'm thinking of my wife. If I turned on the TV and watched everything from like 2 o'clock on about the bracket, she'd be like 7 o'clock. She'd be like, okay, look.
Welcome to March.
Watch 5 hours of this.
Yeah.
Just tell her this is March. That's all you heard from Tom,
All right, Tony, appreciate you being here, sir. Always enjoy it.
Thank you.
Great seeing you,
Thanks.
Tony.
All right, folks, check out Tim Krueger's stuff. Follow him, TK Brackets on X. Visit him online, bracketville.wordpress.com to check out his bracket. You'll be posting revisions of that every day from here on out, correct?
Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and then obviously the final will show up sometime. Hopefully, hopefully you have things decided in the A10 and so forth. Not the A10. I think it's the American is a late one. But anyway, hopefully we have it all decided.
What's wrong with Thursday? What do you have against Thursday?
Yeah, we're just taking a break.
That's okay.
I've got Kraton to cover Thursday, luckily.
Yeah, they're still playing something.
And then, hey, just want to mention the fans too. To Blue Jay Banner, go to our YouTube channel on Blue Jay Banner. Okay, next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we're going to be doing nothing but brackets.
Okay,
we're going to have all kinds of different guests on. We might have that last clown who was just on here. I might reach out to him and get him on here to get a different perspective.
Be good stuff. All right, Blue Jay Banter on YouTube, folks. They're covering the other side of the Council Bluffs Omaha divide. So check out Blue Jay Banter and everything Tim Krueger does for Bracketville. Tim, always a pleasure having you here.
Yeah. By the way, Corey, Kraton's we're on the Crown Watch right now.
Crown Watch, okay.
Yeah, we beat Seton Hall. We're pretty much locked for the crown. So that's such a big game.
Iowa fans can relate to that. But does Kraton accept that invitation?
I think the Big East is committed to 2. So what I have heard from everybody at Kraton, they would want to. The cool thing is that I'm sorry, we've run long, but let me get this in. You remember last year, Nebraska won the crown, the first one, right?
Yeah.
Well, look what happened this year. And I'm not saying it's 100%, but certainly some of those young guys, you get to have practices at home.
Oh, absolutely. There's value there.
It's so much. You go back to the old NIT days. There's so many stories of teams getting to the NIT final with a young team, and then the next team, boom, because that month of extra practice is invaluable. So, plus it's pretty nice the first week in April in Vegas.
Xavier was an example of that in the Big East here a few years ago.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Yeah.
I remember when Iowa went to the NIT championship game. I'm trying to think what year that was and who'd they lose to? They lose to Baylor, whatever year that was.
Sounds right.
My memory's failing me, but NIT watch, the Crown watch. I have to pause before I say it because it just doesn't roll off the tongue. But anyways, folks, keep it locked right here and over to Blue Jay Banter in Bracketville. Tim, thank you for being here. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Corey. I really appreciate it.